Nakia staff question incomplete housing project. Nurses happy with new employment conditions. And the launch of Kumul Consolidated Holdings.
This is National MTV News with Meriba Tulo.
Good evening and welcome to Friday's news. It's a housing project worth millions of kina, but to date it has been left to deteriorate under dubious circumstances involving the National Agriculture and Quarantine Inspection Authority and the numerous subcontractors tasked to complete the Nakia housing project. The project is the first ever housing scheme for Nakia, but failed to be delivered on time. Staff of Nakia are confused and left in the dark as to what really went wrong with the project. Miki Cavera reports.
This is the million kina Nakia housing project. For 3 years it has been left idle and vulnerable to theft. The interior is an eyesore. The walls are broken and covered with graffiti. One of the houses was recently occupied by the subcontractor and his family, but the circumstance surrounding the occupancy of the house is still unclear. According to sources, Nakia failed to pay the subcontractor for 2 years, prompting this move. The project is the first for Nakia approved by the Nakia board in 2011. In May 2012, Nakia entered into an agreement with Lens Investment Limited to build 9 times 3 bedroom houses. Lens Investment Limited then subcontracted it to Adi Lee Architects, a Chinese-based company, but it failed to deliver the project within the time frame of 6 months. The project was valued at 2.7 million kina, but the cost incurred over the years could see the figure rise. A thorough investigation into this project is long overdue to clear the confusion and to help the state save millions of kina to dubious individuals and contractors benefiting from the project. Miki Cavera, National MTV News.
People's National Congress Party candidate David Arore was declared the member for Ijivitari yesterday in Popondetta, Northern Province, after exclusion 19 for candidate Richard Masere, with a total of 6,111 votes being distributed amongst the 2 last candidates. Ousted member David Arore collected 549 votes, bringing his total to 9,787. The petitioner, John Warrison, collected 923 votes, bringing his total to 8,389. However, this was not enough to beat David Arore, who won the by-election by exceeding the absolute majority of 9,089 votes. Nurses around the country will expect an increase in some of their employment conditions starting next year. The increased terms and conditions for nurses will also include principals, lecturers and tutors of nursing colleges. Personnel Management Department Secretary John Kali says the amendments are more attractive for nurses and nursing teachers.
Nursing officers will see a massive increase in their allowances starting on the 1st of January 2016. The domestic market allowance rate per annum has increased by 100 to 300% depending on the grading of the nursing officer. Housing is not a condition of employment for government workers, therefore the nurses' request for housing was turned down. However, Personnel Management Department Secretary John Kali says they are negotiating with the Health Department and the association to establish a home ownership committee for nurses to enter into the government's home ownership arrangements. In August 2014, the Nurses Association called for increased allowances, including housing and overtime, but the claims have dragged on until recently, when they managed to seek legal arrangement for a nationwide stop work. But yesterday, some of the claims have been resolved. Secretary John Kali, Health Secretary Pasco Kase, and PNG Nurses Association Acting National President Stephen Nawick signed the Memorandum of Agreement. The agreement includes a substantial increase in domestic market allowance, clinical overtime and on-call allowances, book and equipment, uniforms, and teaching institutional allowance, among others.
And in some cases, we've given very attractive increases to the nursing profession levels.
The improved conditions have at least satisfied nurses, and the association says they will withdraw the strike attempt.
Gave notice for a possible industrial action We have withdrawn it.
Quinten Alomp, National MTV News.
Lay MP Lujaya Koza says the national government must give all of the outstanding free health and education funding it has promised the people. 318 lay secondary school students graduated yesterday after the school's year-long financial crisis. The school faced financial problems for most of the year due to a shortfall in tuition fee-free funds. Bethany Harriman reports.
These grade 12 students graduated today at the Lay Secondary School despite the struggle the school went through to pay its bills. There was a shortfall of 500,000 kina from the national government's tuition fee-free education.
Hosting the grocery in itself is actually a success, if we can say. Despite the odds, despite going through some debts in the school, despite going through some financial crisis and so forth.
The grade 12s graduated today, but the year 9s and 11s were forced to leave school before the holidays, missing almost a month of school. Parents were asked to meet the shortfall so that the school could pay for its bills.
If the government is really serious to provide for education, then why is it that the school is charging us again? And as a result, now kid is not attending class.
The Secondaries Board has a set-out budget for each year, and when the 1.5 million kina national government funding didn't come, the school began to face a cash flow problem.
That classroom in itself is actually costing us close to about 1.5 million. We have so far paid just about 1.2 million, and we were just about to pay the balance of the cost. Unfortunately, we're in a situation with our with some finance.
Lay MP Lujaya Koza says the Lay district, like all other districts in Papua New Guinea, want the cash components of free education and health to be paid before the 31st of December.
It is a Waigani problem, and they must remember the commitments that they have made to 89 districts, of which Lay is a part. We're committed on the ground. We're already stretching ourselves beyond the boundaries, doing the work, completing the work, and waiting for the funds to pay now.
Initially, the Lay Secondary School was expecting national government funding of TFF monies coming into the school accounts at around 1.5 million kina. But during the year, the school's accounts only showed 1.2 million kina from the national government. Now that leaves a shortfall of about 200,000 kina. The school had its operations ongoing, but due to utility costs and other bills, the school had to send students home 2 weeks early. Bethany Harriman, National MTV News, Lay.
The PNG Defence Force today held its end-of-year Commanders Parade. Commander Brigadier General Gilbert Toropo addressed members of the force, reviewing the year in what he called a year of achievement. 10 outstanding military men were awarded the Commander's Commendation Medal, including 2 Australian Defence Force warrant officers.
PNG Defence Force Commander Brigadier General Gilbert Toropo proudly advised today that the year's targets for the Defence Force have been met. Despite certain challenges, the year 2015 was fruitful, which has seen many great achievements for the force.
That culture to focus on our core business of defense of our nation, nation building, internal security, assistance to natural disaster to our people, and also maintain the international obligations. To do this effectively, we had deliberate plans at the beginning of 2015 to grow the force and improve our capacity.
These achievements include force growth, the establishment of the Ceremonial Guard, and the reinvigoration of the Long Range Reconnaissance Unit, among many others that ended the year on a high note for the force. PNGDF Chief of Staff Colonel Mark Goina spoke on the incident between members of the Defence Force and the police, saying that it is a civil matter and the force would like to see a joint investigation on the case to ensure proper measures are taken and it is not repeated in the future.
To maintain our core business in defense of our nation and to respond to internal security and humanitarian assistance and natural disaster in both the north and south land borders, we have had joint effects with Lagakamu deploying 200 fuel drums of F-gas on both sides to allow the choppers to get our men deployed and effectively patrol our land borders between Indonesia and PNG. And that has been successfully done, and patrols, as we speak, are continuously ongoing. And one of the notable successful operations our men has conducted is the rescue of 2 Indonesian hostages held in the mountains of Bawani. They have rescued these 2 hostages.
Among the 10 men who received the Commander's Commendation Award, 7 were promoted up the ranks, including 2 Australian Warrant officers. Lorraine Gabina, National MTV News.
You're watching National MTV News. Among stories after the break, the launch of the Kumul Holdings Limited. Stay with us. Welcome back to the news. Minister for Public Enterprise and State Investments, Ben Micah, has launched Kumul Consolidated Holdings Limited, paving way for economic advancement in PNG. The Kumul Consolidated Holdings Limited, formerly Independent Public Business Corporation, or IPBC, is now a structure under an Act of Parliament responsible for all state business. Minister Micah said this rebirth is aimed at enhancing the lives of Papua New Guineans through the government's participation within the business sector.
The historical occasion was witnessed by CEOs and board chairs of most, if not all, state-owned entities this week in Port Moresby. According to the Minister for Public Enterprise and State Investments, Ben Micah, Kumul Consolidated Holdings Limited, which replaces IPBC, makes it possible for the government to move forward in business by partnerships with the private sector.
We are trying to chart this new course and trying to come up the future of the government's participation in a very challenging, very robust, dynamic, but also risky environment.
The minister acknowledged past ministers, especially Arthur Sumare, whose role in the PNG LNG project saw 18% equity secured for the government, making it the 3rd largest shareholder. He also acknowledged Sir Mekere Morauta and past managing directors of IPBC, including Glenn Blake, Thomas Abe, Dr. Thomas Webster, and Wasanta Kumarasiri. It's anticipated that the Kumul agenda will be a key factor in the finance and budgetary systems of the government.
Yes, SOEs and Kumul Consolidated Holdings, together we can, but I want to invite the private sector that are contributing so much to the development of our economy, creating wealth for our country, to also join us in this journey of Together We Can build Papua New Guinea through the commitment of all our shareholders and all our top CEOs and boards in the development of the economy of Papua New Guinea.
He encouraged chairs and CEOs of SOEs to be creative and smart in running the people's business. Minister Micah is expected to make new appointments of the boards of Kumul Consolidated Holdings under the new Act. Deli Waigeno, National MTV News.
The International Organization of Migration Coordinator, Sithole Wonesai, said disaster risk management training will educate people to manage migration issues caused by disasters in the country. Mr. Wonesai said this during a workshop conducted by the International Organization of Migration in Port Moresby. Eric Haurupma with this report.
The International Organization of Migration Coordinator, Sithole Wonesai, said disaster management risk training is important to manage migration issues that are caused by natural disasters. Mr. Wonesai said PNG is vulnerable to natural disasters and hazards that pose controversial risk upon the lives of the people.
And these are the communities that we're actually trying to look how best we can assist the government to find durable solutions for people who are actually in care centers and in those displacement setups like in Manam, in Bulolo, and all other, after Cyclone Guba in Oro Province.
He said in areas affected by the natural disasters, many people are forced to migrate from their homelands. These immigrants displaced in foreign lands tend to face humanitarian issues and tribal conflicts that deprive their human rights. This organization complements the PNG's government effort in managing disaster-affected communities by carrying out disaster risk management training to be resilient to assets and effects of natural disasters.
And they operate with the government officers and become the team leaders in the care centers. So they'll probably having a meeting every 2 times a week about the management of care center, trying to define or trying to find the needs of the people, the care center affected people.
The International Organization Migration is operational in 12 provinces, especially those induced by natural disasters and conflicts. Meanwhile, 22 disaster coordinators from PNG and Vanuatu received their certificates today after attending a week-long disaster and risk management workshop in Port Moresby. Eric Arupman, National MTV News.
The National AIDS Council Secretariat has revealed that intermittent funding has affected the implementation of their programs. Director Peter Bire said programs have ceased for 2 years now. However, administrative operations continue. Fabian Hakalitz has more.
In an exclusive interview, Mr. Bire told MTV News that funding constraints has prevented the National AIDS Council Secretariat from implementing all programs in the last 2 years. Although the national government has allocated some funds, it is purely for operations.
Unfortunately, the government is not, it's given money for operations, which is to do with salaries, but it's not given our program budget for the last 2 years. So that's the message,
Mr. Bire also revealed there is a lack of coordination between the National Health Department and the National AIDS Council Secretariat.
There's some lack of communication, and the government is giving money to health, but not really for our work.
While appreciating donors' effort, he explained their funds are shared among implementing partners of non-government organizations and churches.
Well, we are coordinating that as well, but it goes directly to not to government, but to the implementing partners, Save the Children and a few of the churches who are doing the service delivery. So we appreciate the donor partners funding, but it goes straight to them, not to our organization.
Accurate database system still remains a challenge. The National AIDS Council Secretariat, as the custodian, only reports statistics from patients who visit testing sites, considering many infected still living in rural areas.
Our real threat is in the rural areas, where the prediction is that probably there's not much, but that's just based on what we are saying. But we need to go there and find out.
Mr. Bire appealed to the national government to ensure funds are released for this sole purpose.
There's a gap, which is the general population and in the rural areas, and that's the role of the government. So we're trying to convince the government to help us to do more in that one, if we cared about people in the rural areas. And
Fabian Hakalitz, National MTV News.
Swire Shipping has established a coffee bulking area at the Lae port to reduce time spent on handling before beans are shipped to overseas buyers. Because the company owns the vessels, the area becomes a one-stop shop for the coffee bags that can be quality checked and quarantined before they are exported. Coffee Industry Corporation, the regulatory body of the crop, says the move by Swire means coffee beans will get to buyers quickly, maintaining quality that fetches better prices. Bethany Herman reports.
Papua New Guinea's coffee industry is worth over 900 million kina and continues to grow. Markets in Europe and other parts want PNG coffee. Because of this sustainable growth, Swire Shipping is setting up a coffee bulking facility in Lae. Swire's country manager Randy Selvaratnam says having the whole operation on the wharf will be effective. He describes the move as adding value to the company.
It reduces the number of handling moves for our customers, as well as the integrity of the cargo is maintained by the process of not having to move it several times. If it's packed outside the wharf, you have at least one more transport move to be bringing it into the wharf, etc.
The shipping company has created an area on the wharf for Coffee Industry Corporation personnel to run quality assurance checks and quarantine coffee beans,
and then exported to overseas buyers who will receive the coffee on time with a higher quality. That means better prices will be paid for the coffee beans.
It's a one-stop shop, Swaya's own vessels, and they will do also the freight forwarding, handling of coffee, documentation. So it's a one-stop shop. It's an advantage.
Coffee Industry Corporation Acting Chief Executive Officer Charles Dambui says the move by Swaya will help Papua New Guinea's coffee export.
We are now promoting tree-to-cup marketing strategy, which means when you produce a quality on farm, it has to deliver on time, the same quality, the same specimen that is required by our buyers overseas. And opening of facilities like this give an advantage.
The Papua New Guinea coffee industry expects a surge in the amount of coffee beans coming from the highlands in 2016. PNG Coffee Exports Managing Director John Edwards says the facility will help that surge.
In 2016, we expect a bigger crop. The trees are looking healthy. We've had drought and stress, so we're expecting an increased volume.
Bethany Harriman, National MTV News, Lae.
You're watching National MTV News. School project fees back, TVET graduation in Kokopo, and Ella Motors launches Dream Car Contest. Those stories coming up after the break. Welcome back to the news. After many years of disruptions, Como Seventh-day Adventist Primary School finally saw its pioneers graduate. 9 grade 8 pioneers graduated this week, proving all odds and embracing the purpose of education. Como Magariba MP Francis Potape flew into the remote school to witness this history in the making moment for the people of Como.
Como SDA Primary School was established in the colonial days but was constantly disrupted by tribal fights and land issues. However, yesterday was history in the making as the first pioneers of the school graduated. Como Magarima MP Francis Potape and Deputy Governor Thomas Potape decided to be part of the ceremony, emphasizing the need to make education the next big project, as the LNG project would not benefit everyone.
Listen, and come to the beginning of the school. That is the beginning of our blessing. And we also. So life must change.
The government's free education policy has seen its enrollment rise from 50 to over 300 students. This level 4 school is set to make precedent, with political and local leaders pledging to build the school's capacity.
This is a school and future for you, beginning for you. You saw that you Papua LNG, you must go good. Education is the priority.
The first grade 8 graduation coincided with the opening of 4 classrooms and a teacher's house through a joint funding of the district and LLG. The local MP has committed 200,000 kina for this year and next year for building infrastructures.
Can I show you? We will help you. We will help you, and we will have plenty of kids, plenty of school beginning.
This primary school is set to see a wave of change as the Komoaja Kaiba Road is also making progress in the area.
Kubona Adventist Primary School, for them all in the Kubona area, you have no backwards. Because of open companies. It's the beginning of crossover.
Jack Lapava Jr., National MTV News.
Starting next year, parents and guardians will no more enjoy free education but pay a portion, and that is the project fees for their children. The Vice Minister for Education, Gisuit Sinuin, made the announcement today at the graduation ceremony for Laloki Secondary School. Fabian Hakalitz has more.
Parents and guardians will have to dig deep into their pockets to pay school project fees that will assist schools to begin the 2016 academic year. It was at today's Laloki Secondary School Grade 12 Pioneer graduation where National Education Vice Minister Gisuat Sinuin made the announcement.
I advise the government project fees will be reintroduced again so that parents can have ownership.
The Vice Education Minister further explained there were many challenges faced by schools when the tuition fee-free policy was rolled out. Considering these reasons, the O'Neill Dion government had no option but to reintroduce project fees.
You start off school properly and you run the school at the start of the school year. So free education, free project fee has been abolished. We are going to reintroduce it again like what previous schools we have been doing.
The news for the national government to reintroduce the project fees didn't go down well with some parents and teachers. Schools like Laloki Secondary School are still waiting for the final quarter TFF funds.
You just look at the other countries, like they don't play up with the teachers and they don't play up with the education. Here we are playing up. We introduce one style of education this year, next year that style, and now we are going to some kind of a style called standard-based education. And
Fabian Hakelitz, National MTV News.
The Bomana International Education Agency celebrated the pioneer graduation of 102 inmates and staff today, setting the foundation for the new Correctional Services partnership with IEA's rehabilitation program. 97 inmates, along with 5 staff members at the Bomana Correctional Institute, graduated in literacy skills, hygiene and food safety courses. Willie Lovai with this report.
Inmates and staff at the new Bomana TAFE now have something to look forward to, as the first batch of graduates made history today as pioneers of the CIS and IEA rehabilitation program. Today saw 102 graduates at Bomana Correctional Institute, and for many inmates it was their first graduation and brought hope for the future. Among the pioneer graduates was 62-year-old Leo Ayak from West New Britain. Mr. Ayak is serving 2 life sentences, and today marked a very significant milestone in his life, as Ayak graduated for the first time. He highlighted that the program made it possible for him to read and write, and that he has now found hope for himself.
Mr. 25 years now, I sa read na write. Kam na sa school, IEA school am kami said na, emi kim na, atanim sa course na, now mi sa read na write.
So we're definitely here for a long term. We also hope to reasonably early next year start talking to correctional services about expanding the whole project into the other 3 main prisons.
He said that it is an ongoing program and that IEA plans to include more courses like computing in the future. Willie Lovai, National MTV News.
Ella Motors has launched its Dream Car Art Contest, an initiative aimed at boosting some of its latest car models in their markets worldwide. The drawing competition targets school kids between the ages of 7 to 15. Within NCD, schools have already shown interest by obtaining application forms from Ella Motors, which will enable their students to showcase their artistic talent.
Children as young as 7 to 15-year-olds around the country have been given an opportunity by Ella Motors to display their artistic skills. The competition by this worldwide known distributor of vehicles gives school kids an opportunity to draw cars and color it, then become one of Ella Motors' vehicle designers. Ella Motors Business Development Manager Chris Von Oplin at the launch of the art contest to explain that the drawing competition will give children the opportunity to showcase art creativity.
And the art characteristics is the design drawn and expressed solidly and structurally through colour and technique.
This competition will also enable young winners to be graded at an international level in the final world contest in Japan. This year marks the first year that will attract young skilled artists within PNG who will be competing with other young kids from 81 countries in the world. Sacred Heart Catholic School within NCD has collected application forms for its students.
But most of the students, they are very different and they have different abilities. And for some of them, they're not very good in classroom learning, but in drawing, they're good in it, in art.
Colin Barelai, National MTV News.
And that ends our news segment. After the break, it's Trukai Sports. I'll be back with the details.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome to Trukai Sports. PNG Netball has announced their 60-plus train-on squad for the regional Under-21 World Cup qualifier in Auckland in August 2016. The squad will have an 8-month training program from which the final 12 will be selected after 3 rounds of trials. Training will commence this month at the High Performance Training Centre in Port Moresby, followed by the first round of trials in January, the second during Easter weekend, and the final round in July 2016. Moving on to soccer, it will be another tough round of matches in the Telecom's National Soccer League as Southern Conference sides FC Port Moresby and PKA Rapatona meet. While in the north, Goroka Gosiha prepares to host Madang in their first home match of the season. Jeremy Mogi reports.
The going has been tough for Goroka over the first two rounds. Conceding 11 goals in 2 matches has had their supporters up in arms over the team's failure to match expectations. Their campaign began with a crushing 7-0 loss to Lae City, and while few had expected them to match the might of the dwellers at home at the SIK, the follow-up loss to Besta a week later left many shaking their heads. This time, however, they meet Madang FC at the NSI in Goroka with conditions more suited to them. Whilst the altitude may play a part in their favour, Goroka will need to play more attacking football against a Madang side that is brimming with talent. Madang, for their part, had to fight hard against Admiralty. The thriving rivalry between both teams, a healthy sign that the NSL is maturing to an extent where competition is becoming fierce. At the SIK, another derby as Besta meet Lae City. Both teams had wins last week. Lae with an Obed Bika strike for a 1-0 win over Welgris, while Besta in a confidence-boosting victory over Goroka. Welgris showed they could contain Lae's attack last week, and a lot will hold on Besta's defensive abilities. Welgris will meet Admiralty, both teams on the rebound. Admiralty coach Peter Sakayas had been irate after his side's loss to Madang last week and will be hoping for a more positive outcome. In the Southern Conference, FC Port Moresby are still looking for their first win after seemingly good performances against Gigera Laitepo and Huawei PS. But after being rattled by the more physical approaches of both sides, had disappointing last-minute goals scored against them. PKA Rapatona, however, play a similar brand, and the match will be an interesting strategic play between coaches Reginald Davani and Max Foster. Another interesting matchup will be between Huawei PS and Gigera Laitepo. Like the PKA FC POM match, these teams also play with similarities, although it will still fall to how well Gigera can defend. Conceding 6 goals so far, the team does have defensive issues, and these will need to be resolved against Huawei's fast counters. Final game will be between Hekari and Erema Gulf. Hekari have gone into almost every match for the past few seasons as favourites, but they're still gelling as a unit, while Erema have goal-scoring ability as well. Jeremy Mogi, National, MTV Sports.
Don't go away, we have more of Trukai Sports after the break.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome back to Trukai Sports. President of NCD Boxing, Hong Kiap, is standing by his statement that NCD boxers failed to attend the National Boxing Championships in Kavieng because the flights were fully booked. NCD Boxing is the defending champion, but the team missed out this year, the title given to New Mekeo Boxing Association from Central Province. While NCD boxers were disappointed, President Hong Kiap hopes the team will be considered for major upcoming events. Jaylee Sapias with more.
As defending champions, Team NCD's non-attendance at the National Boxing Championships in Kavieng, New Ireland from the 26th to the 29th of November was a concern to the PNG Boxing Union.
Unfortunately, NCD team couldn't make it due to the booking backlog from New Guinea. Apparently, we couldn't do much. The draws have been made, and unfortunately, they will not take part in this competition.
According to the NCD ABA president, Mr. Hong Kiap, the team's non-participation was due to the fact that all necessary arrangements were affected by NU Guinea. Further inquiry with NU Guinea revealed that 3 of its aircrafts were grounded for service and only 1 was used to serve the NGI region during this time, hence increase of passengers. Kiap said, due to circumstances beyond their control, the team had no choice but to withdraw from the championships. He apologized on behalf of his executives in a statement yesterday. Avira said it is up to the selection committee now to decide what happens to the NCD boxers. Kiap is calling on the PNG Boxing Union to consider NCD boxers for selection into the Melanesian Cup in Fiji and the Beijing Olympic qualifier next year. Jaylee Sapias, National MTV Sports.
The difficulty faced by local surfers in PNG in finding old or new fiberglass surfboards to surf the waves is an ongoing challenge. The Surfing Association of PNG has been working on enhancing the skills of local board shapers. This comes as splinter boards have been around for centuries. Shane Saroya has this report.
Traditional carved-out wooden boards have been around for centuries, and ancestors have been using the boards to surf. The transition to modern-day fiberglass boards is nowhere going to undermine the integrity of the traditional palang boards.
Pleasantly surprised myself to see our local artisans in Madang shaping some fine-looking boards that I'm sure would fetch a handsome sum of money if they were traded on the international market. So there's great hope and great future for our traditional artisans out there.
In essence, SAPNG is working on ensuring that traditional splinter boards and modern surfboards coexist. In doing so, allowing the younger generations to surf the boards and be accustomed to the traditional shaping methods, given the abundant supply of balsa wood available in the forest of PNG. In addition, Tom Wagner, a renowned board shaper, will arrive from Australia tomorrow with legend filmmaker Nathan Oldfield. Wagner will continue where he left off in his last visit to PNG, where he spent 2 weeks in the village of Tupira in Madang province to help local surfers and board makers update their design and construction methods in an effort to retain their culture of being board makers. Shane Saroya, National, MTV Sports.
Yarawari Secondary School in the Central Province raised over 100,000 kina at last night's fundraiser to improve the school's sports facilities. The school has set a target of 300,000 kina to go towards building a new hall. Godwin Eki reports.
Last night, the Yarawari Secondary School saw Year 9 and 11 students, together with their teachers, head of school and corporate bodies that sponsored the event, present at the sports fundraising dinner at Vision City. The aim of the fundraiser was to raise money to build 2 new basketball, volleyball and 1 netball court for the students. The target amount for the new sports facility was 300,000 kina, but last night's dinner made over 100,000 kina. Mindy Karu, School in-Service Coordinator and Head of Social Science, said although the target amount hasn't been reached yet, the school will continue to carry out more fundraisers until the target amount of 300,000 kina has been reached.
Fundraising for our new sports complex to accommodate basketball courts of 2 and netball courts of 1 and volleyball courts of 2.
2 main sponsors for the event were the National Parliament Clerk, who contributed 13,000 kina, and PNG Sports Foundation with 10,000 kina, plus 6,000 kina each from other schools and organizations in Port Moresby. All proceeds will go towards the development of sports in the school.
Yarawari has come a long way. It is now finding its mark in the country. The corporate dinner tonight mainly was to raise funds for the new sports complex. We are very passionate about Yarawari reaching the same level as other schools in the country who have progressed and have developed. We cannot be left out of this. We must be at the same level as any other institution in this country.
Godwin Eki, National, MTV Sports.
And then in Strukai Sports, we'll bring you the weather details for the next 24 hours after the break.
Strukai Sports. Strukai Sports.
Taking a look at the weather forecast for the next 24 hours. First of all, in the southern region, mostly fine in Port Moresby, Kerema and Popondetta, and fine as well in Daru and Alotau. To the Momase region, brief showers expected in Lae, Wau, Madang, Wewak and Vanimo. To the New Guinea Islands region, mostly fine in Kavieng, Kokopo and Rabaul, brief showers expected in Lorengau and Kimbe, and fine weather expected in Buka. And in the Highlands region, mostly fine for Goroka, Kundiawa, Mendi and Wabeg, and brief showers expected in Mount Hagen. And the forecast for small ships for the next 24 hours. Waters of southern PNG Indonesian border through Torres Strait and Daru to Kiwai Island to Kerama, Yule Island to Hood Point to Samarai Island, seas 0.5 to 1.5 meters. Waters of eastern and western Milne Bay Islands with waters of Samarai Island to Cape Vogel to Finschhafen with waters of Finschhafen including Vitia Strait, CSE Island to Tami Island and Long Island with the waters west of Long Island to Medang, Bogia, Wibak, Aitape, Vanimo and northern PNG Indonesian border with waters of Manus and its western group of islands and with waters of New Island to New Britain and Bougainville, seas 0.5 to 1.3 meters. And a look at the ocean forecast for PNG waters. Coral Sea sees moderate to patches rather rough with southeasterly winds at 15 to 25 knots. Solomon Sea sees slight with southeasterly to southwesterly winds at 10 to 15 knots. Bismarck Sea sees slight with northwesterly to southwesterly winds at 10 to 15 knots. And the Pacific Ocean sees slight with west to southwesterly winds at 10 to 15 knots. And that has been the news for today, Friday, the 4th of December 2015. On behalf of the MTV News team, have a pleasant weekend. Good night.